Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Ingram Jones, as you know, and welcome to another episode of Bayloric TV and Boxing Channel. Thank you. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, and leave your comments. We have another guest. We have a veteran. We have Mac Roberts from Blueprint Boxing. Mac, how are you?
I'm doing good. The weather in Las Vegas is beautiful, and I want to shout out to all the UK fans, all the fans in Ireland, all over the UK. Got some great boxers out there, and hopefully soon I'll get to see some of you guys live and live in color. Do what you do in the ring.
So, Mac, people can ask the question, who's this guy on the camera? Who's Mac Roberts? So for the people who don't know who you are, give us just a little taste of who you are.
Basically, I've been in boxing for 15 years. I've worked behind the scenes as an international boxing consultant. I've worked with pretty much every major promoter in boxing around the world behind the scenes, doing a variety of different things as far as matchmaking, marketing, live event marketing, sponsorship, endorsements, TV deals, things of that nature. So I do a lot behind the scenes. I'm one of those guys that, if you look at your favorite fighter on TV, I'll probably work with him a little bit.
Wow. So I don't quite know where to begin this interview because you've got so many different things. Let's just talk about how you got into boxing. Let's start with that first.
Well, how I got into boxing back in 1997. Prior to that, I've always been a boxing fan my whole life.
Right.
Love the sport of boxing. But as far as boxing as a career, back in 1997, I was at home watching Tuesday Night Fights, USA Network, classic boxing show from many, many years ago. It's been canceled, but I watched the fight between Larry Holmes and Maurice Harris. And very controversial decision in that fight. And watching that fight, I thought to myself, you know what? I believe I have something that can benefit the sport of boxing. So that night, I decided to make boxing my career. Just watching one fight that I felt the decision went the wrong way.
Wow. And what was the decision in the end?
Larry Holmes, the judges gave him the victory. I respect Larry Holmes. I met him in person here in Las Vegas. He's a great fighter, great all-time fighter. I just believe on that night, Maurice Harris earned the victory. He didn't, and rest is history.
Maurice Harris, if I believe, was trained at that time maybe by James Ali Bashir?
I believe so. Can't quote me on that, but that may have been the situation. But Maurice Harris was definitely a very talented, underrated heavyweight that had a lot of talent. Unfortunately, other things inside of boxing, outside of boxing, he didn't, accomplish certain things he could have accomplished, but a very talented heavyweight fighter nonetheless.
Wow. So from that point onwards, you decided to get yourself into boxing. What was the process that you took to get into boxing?
Well, at that point in time, I reached out to the state boxing commissioner and let him know I was interested. I felt at that time I wanted to become a boxing judge. That was my first calling as a boxing judge.
Mm-hmm.
And I reached out to a local boxing commissioner. At the time, they didn't have any openings for judges, but he did have openings for a boxing inspector. Said, okay, you do a boxing inspector for a while. When the judge position opens up, I'll slide you in. That's how I started.
Boxing inspector. So what did that entail?
Boxing inspector is the guy that, watches the fighters in the dressing rooms. As you see your favorite fighters fighting on TV, it's the guy in the corner, making sure everything goes right in the corner, in the fight, making sure, no hanky-panky is going on, no controversy, but pretty much inspectors kind of watches over things in the ring, in the dressing room, to make sure that all the rules of the state boxing commission are being upheld.
Okay, let me go straight into that. No hanky-panky is going on. So what's a sort of hanky-panky that could go on potentially in the corners or going on in the dressing room?
Well, dressing room, of course, the inspector is the one that oversees the wrapping of the hands of the fighters. So as we know in boxing history, there have been many controversies as far as hand wrapping is concerned. So
Absolutely.
the inspector is definitely a person that oversees that. In the corner, in a few fights in the past, certain things have been certain drinks have been utilized in the corner to help fighters, uh, energize themselves. So as an inspector, you're supposed to be on top of things like that, and certain times in fights, I've seen situations where fighters have been hurt. Cornermen have done certain things, throw ice in the ring, a lot of different things. Sometimes a fighter may need a little breather, but an experienced cornerman sometimes can sometimes help the fighter get a little extra time to recoup, so to speak. So as an inspector, you have to be watchful of certain things and make sure things are on the up and up and all the rules are being adhered to.
Okay, so what was the smartest thing that was underhanded that somebody tried to do while you were an inspector?
Oh, nothing, because I was a hawk, so I'm definitely wouldn't let anything happen. But I've seen other fights where where I was not involved, that certain things transpired where as far as hand wraps and as far as cornermen doing certain things to give their fighter a little extra time to kind of recoup after a tough round. So we've all seen many boxing fights in our years, so we know which fight the controversy occurred in. So that's we all seen those fights.
The first thing that comes to my mind is Antonio Margarito. Now he had a career. We don't know for sure. We do know that his hands were wrapped against Miguel Cotto, and you saw the way Miguel Cotto's face was absolutely destroyed by Antonio Margarito. And then brother Nazim Richardson pulled up Margarito in terms of his hands being wrapped before he fought Sugar Shane Mosley. Subsequently, Margarito went and got knocked out. Now, how was he able to do? How was he able to get away with it so long? If he really was wrapping his hand with the hands of stone almost.
Well, fortunately, it's been well publicized that there has been some issues with Margarito's hand wraps in the past, and Nazim Richardson definitely stopped those kind of things from happening. Unfortunately, I don't know for sure what happened, but it seems like other people that were around in the dressing room for those fights, may have missed some things, or
Turn the
maybe the
blind
situation.
eye?
I don't know. I wouldn't say turn a blind eye, but maybe they, maybe there was an issue with they maybe needed additional training, perhaps, or maybe they were unsure of the regulations as it pertains to tape and gauze and padding. So I don't know. I wasn't there, but we do know that Brother Nazim Richardson did stop that. So what took place in those other fights, unfortunate as it was, sometimes when there may be a lack of training or a lack of experience, sometimes things can happen. As we all know, in the business of boxing, every judge, every referee does not judge or referee to fight the same way. People have their own, concept as it pertains to judging. There are set rules, but each judge sees a fight differently. So as we all know, there's been many controversies as pertains to judging. So some judges, unfortunately, are better than others. That's what we live in.
Was there any way you could tell, being an inspector, looking in one corner, then going into the other corner, or one dressing room into another dressing room? Were you able to tell that by that point, knowing which fighter was going to win on the night by basis on their teams?
Well, as an inspector, it's about talent. Sometimes, there's unfortunately in boxing the A side and B side. Some fighters are better than others.
Absolutely.
Certain fighters train better, train harder, more dedicated. Some fighters have 8 weeks to train. Some guys may have 2 weeks to train. So, of course, there are many advantages And a talented fighter, 9 times out of 10, has more advantages.
Okay, and we'll come back to you about that a little later. Um, Moving on. So you were a boxing inspector. Then what happened from that?
At that point, I did that for a while. It was a really great experience. I moved on to doing some boxing writing.
Who did you write
After I
for?
did some boxing writing, pardon me,
Who did you write for?
independent websites. I was an independent
Okay.
writer, writing various websites. Did a little bit of boxing radio and internet. Got involved in matchmaking, and at this point, I've been in 15 years, and in my 15 years in boxing, I've primarily done everything in boxing. I've been a licensed promoter, I've been a licensed manager, I've been a licensed matchmaker. Um, I've actually assisted training fighters. I've done sponsorships, endorsements, so I'm very well rounded as pertains to my boxing experience and what it takes to be successful in boxing.
Okay, let's talk about you as Mac the promoter. What does it take to be a promoter or a good promoter, Mac?
It takes a lot of money. Gotta have money. Good promoters gotta have money. Also, to be a good promoter, you have to have a good team, a good staff. Having a good staff or having a good team is very, very important. You can have talented fighters, you can have a lot of money. As we've seen in boxing history, there's a lot of promoters that have a lot of money, but they don't have the proper team in place to help utilize the vision to promote the fighters and do what's necessary to get the fighters in the right position. Most promoters will burn through that money, and next thing you know, those promoters will be out of business. So look at a promotion company like Top Rank. Top Rank has been around a long, long time. Top Rank has a very solid team. They build a lot of fighters from the ground up. They have very, very talented fighters. They're very innovative, and Top Rank does a great job. There's a lot of other promoters out there. Golden Boy, another company, has a lot of great talent, great staff. So I think as it pertains to boxing and being a successful promoter, you must have a solid, experienced team around you to help you become successful.
So when you say they need a good team, what does a good team consist of, in your opinion?
As a promoter, you definitely have to have a great matchmaker. A great matchmaker is, you got to have that. At Top Rank, once again, you got Bruce Trampler, Hall of Famer matchmaker. Having a matchmaker like Bruce Trampler on your team, you can't go wrong. He's been around a long time. He's developed a lot of fighters. And, Bruce Trampler, some of the success that Top Rank has had over the years, Bruce Trampler has definitely been a big part of that. So having a matchmaker and having the finances to sign top world-class talent, those two things are very, very important.
Okay. I want to touch on the matchmaking thing because I don't know if you watch a lot of social media, but there's lots of matchmakers on social media. Lots of matchmakers as journalists. Lots of matchmakers as boxing fans. Can you tell us a little bit more about the importance of making the right match and what it takes to be a good matchmaker? And what happens if you don't get your matchmaking right?
Well, unfortunately, like I said, I've been a matchmaker, so I know what it takes. And unfortunately, a matchmaker, he deals with the good, the bad, and the ugly, and everything else. A good matchmaker knows what type of fight a young prospect needs to fully develop in his boxing career. A good matchmaker knows when to put a young fighter in tough and when not to put him in tough. A good matchmaker knows when it's the right time to step up and when it's not the right time to step up. A good matchmaker is someone that knows fighters, strengths, weaknesses, what a fighter can do, what a fighter can't do. A good matchmaker is someone that studies fighters around the world. Like, for instance, myself, if you're a fighter, no matter where you are in the world, if you have gloves, you're a professional, I've seen you fight, I've seen your videos, I know your strengths, I know your weaknesses, I know what you can do. I know what you can't do. A good matchmaker has to have those abilities. On the flip side, a good matchmaker, when you say you have a top 10 prospect, a guy that you see can be a world champion. Unfortunately, if you put that guy in with a fighter, let's say the top 10 guy is supposed to win. Let's say he loses. It's not the matchmaker's fault because the matchmaker cannot fight for the fighter. But sometimes, the matchmaker takes the brunt of the loss, so to speak. So in my career, I've seen some matchmakers that have had top fighters when those fighters have lost. Unfortunately, those matchmakers may have lost their job, because someone lost. So, when you have a lot of money involved, a lot of money invested, sometimes the matchmaker is a scapegoat when a fighter loses. And that's unfortunate. As you mentioned, there are a lot of matchmakers out there in social media. I know most of them. I've worked with them. I've came up in the boxing game with them. And all those guys are very, very talented matchmakers. And, I wish them well in their future endeavors. And some of them are doing great, great things. And being a matchmaker is a very, very competitive field. So to be a top matchmaker, as I mentioned, somebody like Bruce Trampler, you have to be on your toes. You have to be in your A game. Because to be a matchmaker like Bruce Trampler and be in the game this long, you have to stay on your toes. And you have to be good at what you do. Because if you're not a good matchmaker, believe me, the promoter will find someone who's better.
So what is it that makes Bruce Trampler such an exceptional matchmaker?
His knowledge of boxing, his knowledge of boxers, Matchmakers, you have to be very, very into your craft. If you're an actor, you have to train at Juilliard or train with an acting school that's very, very top notch. So the matchmaker, you have to know your craft. It takes a lot of research, takes a lot of hard work to know fighters and learn their tendencies and know their strengths, their weaknesses, and as I mentioned, developing a fighter and moving a fighter is a very, very intricate process. So you have to know when to step up, when to just go on a slower pace because all prospects don't have the same talent. A prospect, let's just say a guy like Errol Spence, great young prospect. With his talent, he may be able to move a little faster than some other prospects that may not be as talented as him. But I will say one thing. With all prospects, there's an expiration date on that. What I mean by that is, as you're a prospect, you're moving along, you're 10-0, 11-0, 12-0, 13-0. Eventually, you're going to have to step up and fight higher competition. And at that point in time, your promoter will know if you have what it takes or you don't have what it takes. And at that point, we'll see who's real and who's not.
What's a telltale sign that a fighter is ready to step up and then a fighter who's not ready to step up?
Well, I'll go with the one that's not ready to step up. A fighter that's not ready to step up, he could be a guy 10-0, 11-0, 12-0. But as a matchmaker, by his talent what kind of opponent to put him in the ring with. So if you put him in there with a guy that he should beat, and let's say he struggles with that guy, that's a sign that that guy may not be ready. Or it could be a situation where he had a bad night. But 9 times out of 10, if you get a real prospect and you put him in with a guy he should beat, he should be very, very dynamic in dominating his performance. But if a guy just scrapes along, barely gets the win, you may have to reevaluate if that prospect's ready or not.
Okay. So, management, boxing management. So, who's the first fighter that you managed?
First fighter that I managed was a fighter named Rako Saunders. Tough, light heavyweight out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Rough, tumble, strong, rugged guy. Very, very talented guy. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, Reiko was a fighter that was featured in the movie Southpaw, I believe. So he's still around boxing, but very tough, rugged guy. Uh, always comes to fight. Uh, very talented guy. Very talented guy.
Okay. What's the most well-known fighter that you have actually managed?
Well, the most well-known fighter I've managed is he's an icon. He's internationally known. He's a phenomenon within himself. The Drunken Master, Emanuel Augustus, was the most famous fighter that I managed. A very entertaining person, very talented guy. Had the ability to be a world champion, at least at 130 and 145, in my opinion. Very, very talented. Uh, gave Floyd Mayweather one of his toughest fights. And if you go on YouTube or do your research, Floyd has said it many times that Emanuel Augustus has been one of his toughest fights. So believe me, Emanuel Augustus, well respected within the boxing community. A lot of other fighters, favorite fighters, Emanuel Augustus. He was a legend on ESPN, most well known for his legendary fight with Mickey Ward, which was ESPN's Fight of the Decade award winner.
Wow.
And Emanuel Augustus also was ESPN's Fighter of the Decade winner. So very, very talented guy, unfortunately. It takes more than his boxing talent to be a world champion. So Emanuel had some issues outside the ring, personal issues. And unfortunately, he did not reach his potential. But anybody that knew him in the United States as a fighter, well, I'll tell you the same thing. Emanuel Augustus was a very, very talented fighter, very dynamic in the ring, always entertaining. Emanuel Augustus was never in a boring fight, never. So, as a fighter, he was very entertaining, very talented, and it was a pleasure to work with him.
So, at what point did you hook up with Emanuel Augustus in your career?
I hooked up with Emanuel, I believe it was around 2008, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
He was fighting in Australia primarily. I reached out to him and let him know that, some great opportunities in the States. And he came to Las Vegas. We started working together. Reached out to Roger Mayweather and, famous Mayweather clan, trainer of, Floyd Mayweather, part of the Mayweather boxing family. He trained Emanuel. So we had some great opportunities. Emanuel, his first fight under my tutelage, he fought on HBO pay-per-view on the Roy Jones and Joe Calzaghe undercard at Madison Square Garden. So to be able to walk down the aisle in front of 15,000 people with Emanuel Augustus was definitely a top moment of my boxing career. Unfortunately, we didn't win the fight. We lost a split decision. But HBO announcers, they thought we won the fight. Unfortunately, the judges thought otherwise.
Wow. So, what do you think it was? I know you said that Emanuel Augustus had all the talent in the world but couldn't be a world champion. He had all the skill. What is that important ingredient, do you think, that would have made him world champion that he was missing?
Well, the talent was definitely there. I think he was lacking the focus. Focus is very, very important for a fighter. Also, dedication. Emanuel Augustus in the ring, put on a great show. I just think if he was a little more dedicated as far as his training regimen, a little more focused as far as his attention to detail in the ring, I think I'm very confident in the world champion. The talent was definitely there. But, those little things, it's the little things that separate a good fighter from being a great fighter. Emanuel Augustus had the potential to be a great fighter. Unfortunately, certain things that he controlled personally did not allow him to be that.
Was there anything that you could have done in your power to have made Emanuel Augustus move from being a top contender to being a champion, or was that totally out of your hands?
It was totally out of my hands, as I mentioned.
Yes.
He had moved to Australia. He had married an Australian lady, so I convinced him to come back to Las Vegas. Uh, I hooked him up to train with Roger Mayweather at that time. Roger Mayweather trainer Floyd Mayweather Jr. So I helped him get a world-class trainer. His first fight under my tutelage was an HBO pay-per-view fight. So as a manager, I'll say this. You can do everything in your power to get your fighter to the point of a big fight, but as a manager, you can't get in the ring and win the fight for the fighter. So I definitely did my job to get him there. To finish the job, he needs to go in the ring and perform. In the fight we were fighting, we fought the guy that at that time was ranked number 5 in the IBF. If we would have won that fight, we would have been in line for IBF world title shot at 140. What happened was we lost the fight, and the guy that beat us, he went on, got the world title shot, and got knocked out.
Who was the guy that got knocked out?
I don't want to name no names, but you know who he is.
Okay, right. So you get a hold of Emanuel Augustus as a fighter. What is it in your eyes, Mac, that you felt was necessary to change his career around and change the direction of his career?
Well, my thought process and my hope was that to get him a world-class trainer and Roger Mayweather would help him take his career to the next level. I also thought having a manager that's seen the big picture and that can increase his fan base and increase his opportunities to make money would help him move to another level. So with that being said, I always knew the talent was there, but sometimes I believe every strong fighter needs a strong team. At the time, the team around Emanuel was very strong. At that time, Emanuel moved to Las Vegas. He lived with me, so I was around him every day, took him to the gym every day, made sure at the gym he did the work. So I was very hands-on with Emanuel at that time. And I thought by having Roger Mayweather train him, being very hands-on, and doing the things to get him additional exposure and get him bigger fights would help propel him to a world title. And we were that close.
I want to touch on Roger Mayweather. Now, I know you called him a world-class trainer. So I'm going to sort of be devil's advocate here and say, well, Floyd Mayweather, you can't argue with what he's done in his career. But could it just be the fact that Roger Mayweather is very good with Floyd Mayweather and maybe not as good with someone like Emanuel Augustus? Could that have been it? Because he's been successful with Floyd because he knows Floyd inside out. You've got Emanuel Augustus. Maybe he'd gone to another trainer. He might have gone over the edge and won the world title. Devil's advocate.
I don't think that was the case. As I mentioned, Roger Mayweather, he has trained other fighters besides Floyd Mayweather that have been very successful. Roger did his best with Manuel. Unfortunately, every fighter, every trainer don't gel like they should. So if you have a world-class trainer, has a good fighter, sometimes they don't gel. They don't create that great working relationship. So with Roger and Emanuel, it was definitely touch and go. They respected each other, but there was, the gel, the work ethic and the relationship, it didn't develop like it should have, but that had nothing to do with Roger. It was totally Emanuel.
Right.
Emanuel Augustus is his own man. He's only going to do what he wants to do. So if you provide him with the tools, the necessary things to become a world champion, if he doesn't want to do the work or if he doesn't want to do the things necessary or follow the game plan, there's nothing you can do. All you can do is give him the tools and hope for the best. And that's what I did. I put him in a situation where he had a world-class trainer. I got him a great fight. I helped him win ESPN Fighter of the Decade Award winner. I helped him secure a 2-fight deal with EA Sports for a video game. So I helped him do a lot. But as far as in the ring, there's nothing I can do to help him.
I know you talked
He's
about.
the guy in the ring.
I know you talked about EA Sports. For those people who don't know, EA Sports Fight Night. Which fight night was it, by the way?
I think it was Fight Night 4 and 5, I believe.
Okay, because Emanuel Augustus is in there.
Yeah, he's definitely in there.
So what was the process of you getting him to Fight Night? Because that's a great thing to have. Historically, no matter what happens, he's always a part of that. He's part of history right there in that game.
As you mentioned, Emanuel Augustus has been immortalized in EA Sports Fight Night 4 and 5. No one can take that from him. It's a great accomplishment for any fighter to be able to secure a deal like that. How that deal came about. I'm a very innovative person. I think outside the box. There are many ways to create revenue. There are many ways to create exposure. There are many ways to build a fan base. That's what I do. That's my business. That's my passion. Building fan bases, building brands, creating revenue. And I felt that Emanuel Augustus, the fighter, was very, very talented. A lot of fight fans knew of him. So I pitched the idea to EA Sports and said, hey, a guy like Emanuel Augustus, he's very charismatic, very entertaining. The guy you might want to consider for the video game. And when I reached out to him, the guy that was producing the game happened to be an Emanuel Augustus fan. So it was a lot of divine intervention, and it was God's work to make this deal come to fruition. And things came together. The deal was done, and as I mentioned, Emanuel is forever immortalized on EA Sports Fight Night 4 and 5.
I know that of recent times, I believe Emanuel, if I'm right, he got shot or something like that.
Yeah, 2015, in his home of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, I believe, an incident took place and he was shot. He did survive. The details about what happened are very sketchy, but it was definitely highly publicized. You can definitely, search for it on Google, what have you. I know he's still, recuperating, so definitely wish Emanuel the best. His recuperation, prayers go out to the Emanuel Augustus family and all his fans, and I hope that he moves past this situation in life and goes on to do bigger and better things.
Absolutely. So when did you end with Emanuel Augustus?
What happened was after the fight we had on HBO, we mutually agreed that it was probably best that we no longer work together. Honestly, I was unhappy with his performance in the fight. We trained hard, and everything was set up for him to win the fight. In my opinion, all he needed to do was go out there and be the dynamic fighter that I knew he could be. Unfortunately, in the fight, I feel he didn't perform the way that I felt he should have performed. Whatever reason that may be, I don't know. I don't know what went on in his head at that time, but I felt that was our golden opportunity to take his career to the next level. It didn't work out, and we just decided very amicably that it's best that he go his way, I go my way. And over the years, we've remained in contact from time to time. Every couple times a year, he still gives me a call, and we check on each other and see how we're doing. So we're still on good terms, but we just decided it was best that we no longer work together.
It's great to hear. So let's talk a bit more about you working with various networks. How does that work out for you, or how did that work out with you?
As far as you say networks, what do you mean networks?
The
TV networks?
Television networks, yes.
Well, basically how that works is, let me just go back to some of the things that I'm involved with.
Right.
Primarily, what I've done over the last 4 or 5 years, my focus has been as an international boxing industry consultant. And what that entails is pretty much every promoter around the world needs a specialist. For example, NBA, Major League Baseball, trade deadline, they may need a specialist to come in there to help get them over the hump to win that championship. We need that relief pitcher that can help you win that world championship. Or you, as a basketball team, you may need that point guard that can help you get to the finals of the NBA. I'm that guy. I'm that specialist that promoters reach out to when they need someone with specialized experience, specialized work ethic to do certain things to help their company take their company to the next level. So as it pertains to TV, the promoters have different wants and needs. And when I work with a client, I first want to find out what is their vision for their company. Each promoter has a different vision. After finding out the information, I ask them, as promoter, what are the top 5 things they need to help their company run more efficient? And what are the top 5 things they need, in their opinion, to create more revenue? And I focus on those 5 things to help assist them and move them in the right direction to accomplish their goals. So
Okay.
with each promoter, they have different wants, different needs. I look at each client on an individual basis, and I focus on their needs, and I put forth the effort to create a strategic marketing plan to accomplish those goals.
Okay. So you also said you work with promoters.
Yes.
And to bring fighters in or fighters. How does that work for you? Give us an example.
Well, I work for promoters, as I mentioned, in various capacities. One promoter may need a TV deal. I have TV contacts, so I may reach out to them and say, hey, I have a promoter looking for a TV deal. Will this work for you? So forth and so on. Another promoter may need a venue for a fight. So I have various contacts with casinos. So reach out to my casino contacts, say, hey, I got a promoter. He's a great promoter, has great fighters. Try and secure a deal. Another promoter, he may need assisting as it pertains to promoting a live event in a certain city.
Right.
I have a team of people that work around me in various cities that can go to those cities and help promote those fight cards to increase live gate revenue, increase exposure, and increase awareness of those fight cards.
Okay.
Some promoters may need assistance bringing in certain opponents for their main events, their co-main events. I can assist in those ways. So I assist promoters in a variety of ways to give their fight cards more success.
Okay. When you're trying to get a fighter in, let's say a promoter wants to fight, a UK promoter, for example, wants to fight his fighter to fight in America to showcase his fighter's talent. What do you look for to ensure that their fighter doesn't get beat, but you provide a fighter that brings in entertainment, for example?
Well, I can't guarantee that the UK fighter is going to win the fight. That's something the fighter has to do himself in the ring.
Right.
But what I can do is, if I have a UK promoter that needs a good US opponent or a good opponent from Mexico or Canada or Puerto Rico or South America, I can have a discussion with that promoter, and I could recommend various opponents that may be a good style matchup for their fighters. Because in boxing, as we all know, styles make fights. So, if a UK promoter has a talented fighter that's looking to get over the hump and to become a world-class fighter on the international scene, I can assist them in bringing in the right opponent from Mexico or Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, United States, or what have you. That's going to, be a competitive fight. It'll be a fight that the fans will like, because fights have to be entertaining, they have to be exciting. So, the selection of opponents is very, very important. You don't want to bring the wrong kind of opponent that's going to make for a very boring, lackluster fight. You don't want to do that. So that's why someone like myself that's been in this business for quite a while, it's imperative for promoters to have a guy that specializes in the proper opponents, that specializes in digital marketing strategies, that specializes in assisting with foreign and domestic TV deals, that specializes in digital content, that specializes in social media marketing. Boxing now is not the same as it was in the 90s and the 80s. Indeed. There are a lot of different new things that can help a promoter and his fighters become successful. And at Blueprint Boxing, that's what we specialize in. That's why in May 2015, I decided to create Blueprint Boxing to do something different and innovative in boxing. Boxing runs in a manner in which most promoters, they do what everyone does. They go by, okay, well, this guy's doing that, we're going to do that. But sometimes you have to look outside the box. Sometimes you have to be two steps ahead to stay successful and be successful. I look at promoters like Top Rank, they're very good at being two steps ahead. They have their own website, toprank.tv. They stream their own live undercards. They stream fights. Top Rank creates good digital content for their fighters. They do good work as far as social media, building of their fighters. And that's very, very important. A lot of promoters, unfortunately, have not put the amount of effort that's necessary as pertains to social media marketing, as pertains to developing and creating solid live boxing streaming on their website, or creating and monetizing entertaining digital content. In my opinion, digital content is the wave of the future. Digital content is going to be something over the next 5 years that's going to revolutionize the sport of boxing. A lot of promoters don't realize that there are numerous ways in which you can monetize your digital content and create more revenue for your company. So Blueprint Boxing is all about building brands, creating awareness, and helping promoters globally create new innovative streams of revenue.
Brilliant. Fantastic. I didn't even ask you about Blueprint Boxing. You just gave it to me right there. Fantastic. Thank you.
It's my passion. I'm very passionate about what I do. And I want to be the best at what I do. I work very, very hard to be the best at what I do. And I'm very, very passionate about that. I want to be able to help promoters, managers, fighters become successful. And when you're passionate about something, you're going to give 150% effort. I'm very passionate about boxing. I live, sleep, and eat boxing. So, like Floyd say, hard work, dedication. You want to be the best, you have to put the work in. And, I'm putting the work in to be the best at what I do. And I appreciate all my clients working with me and allowing me the opportunity to work with them. And I look forward to working with more clients in the UK, in Europe, in Australia, in Africa, in Asia. Boxing is a global sport. And to be truly successful in boxing, as a promotion company, you have to have a great global product, and you must monetize your product globally. And Blueprint Boxing can help any promoter around the world do that.
Ronda Rousey. I know she's not a boxer, but she's very well promoted through the UFC. Why is it boxing hasn't got that female boxing?
I'm glad you asked that question. Ronda Rousey is a phenomenon. Last night, she just went to Brazil and demolished a Brazilian fighter in her home country. And I will say that was a great move by the UFC to have Ronda Rousey fight in Brazil. I watched the live weigh-in, and what shocked me was that Ronda Rousey had more fans in Brazil than the hometown fighter. So that just goes to show you that Ronda Rousey's a phenomenon. She's a talented girl. And I think the UFC is doing a great job. I think as it pertains to women's boxing, in the U.S., there are a lot of talented fighters. Ava Knight, Kalisha West. There are a lot of great fighters. Melissa McMorrow. There's so many, Melissa Hernandez. There's a lot of the names go on and on. A lot of talented fighters in the United States. Unfortunately, for some reason, promoters are hesitant in promoting women's boxing. And that's unfortunate because right now would be a great time to promote women's boxing. The Pan Am Games just ended, and women's boxing was one of the most watched segments of the Pan Am Games. The 2016 Olympics are right around the corner in Rio, and once again, women's boxing is going to be a very watched segment of that Olympics. And also with the success of Ronda Rousey, she's very marketable. She has a very marketable look, and she's a very exciting fighter. And in the United States, there are boxers that are female, that are exciting, that are marketable, but unfortunately, they're not given the opportunity to be seen. It's unfortunate, but I would think that with the success of Ronda Rousey, promoters would take a second look at boxing. As I mentioned, with the Olympics coming up, I would hope that promoters take a look at women's boxing. I think, in my personal opinion, the time is now. In the Olympics coming up, you have a great fighter and Clarissa Shields.
Absolutely.
Very talented fighter. Won the Pan Am Games. 2012 gold medalist. Favored to be the 2016 gold medalist. If I was a promoter, I would love to promote Clarissa Shields because she has the full package as a fighter that could be promoted properly. But once again, I don't know why promoters feel that women's boxing may not be viable. Maybe they may feel there's not enough revenue involved, so forth and so on. Once again, I go back to Ronda Rousey. She's been around a long, long time before she got in UFC. She was with Strikeforce.
But you've got to say, it's her management team that's made her what she is. Her management, her PR team, her media, they've all been behind her. And first of all, Ronda Rousey had to get on board and believe in the vision. So she said she had to get on board. She had to say, you know what? I want to be bigger than life. I do want to be bigger than life. There are a lot of women in boxing that complain or they say, you know what? I'm not being given this opportunity. I'm not being given that opportunity. But you have to put yourself in a position and see the vision for yourself. I'll sign with this big promoter. I'll sign with that big promoter. And you find that they get themselves enslaved into contracts and they find themselves fighting out in Mexico or some backwater place. You look at someone like Cecilia Breakers in Europe. She gets all the fights. She's undisputed champion, but nobody knows her. You don't see her advertised. You don't see her everywhere. You see her everywhere, but she's a champion.
That's very true. Cecilia Breakers is definitely an example of a fighter that is getting paid very well in Europe. Undisputed champion. For her, she has a promoter that believes in her.
Absolutely.
She has a promoter that has made her a priority as far as building her career, getting her the right fight, and making her a champion. Unfortunately, in the United States, at this time, promoters are not willing to make women's boxing a priority. That's unfortunate. But maybe with the Olympics and with fighters like Clarissa Shields winning a gold medal or other Olympic fighters that's coming out, maybe that may change. Who knows?
I don't think it'd be that, Max. You know what it would be? I think it would be if someone like yourself came along and took a woman and promoted her and did a similar thing with Ronda Rousey. If you could do that in boxing, you'd find all the promoters doing it. Because it's like that. People jump on a bandwagon. You look at the thing with Al Heyman. Like, Al Heyman has gone and done what Top Rank wanted to do or Golden Boy wanted to do. He's done it. And now that he's done it, they want to sue him for it. You know? But if they did it, it would have been okay.
Well, that's a great point you bring up. As I mentioned earlier in the interview, boxing, unfortunately, is a bandwagon kind of sport. A lot of promoters don't want to do anything innovative. They want to go and just do what's been working year after year after year.
Tried and tested.
And like you said, a guy like Al Heyman, very intelligent man, very smart man, has a great vision, and he secured the finances to make that vision reality. And a lot of promoters have found themselves in situations where it's like, wow, this guy has TV on ESPN, he has Spike TV, he has Fox Sports 1 coming up, he has all these network TV deals. And of course, if there's one promoter that's looking like he's trying to take over boxing, other promoters are going to say, hey, what about us?
You had the opportunity. You've been around long enough. Why didn't you do it? Top Rank.
You know what? Every day when those promoters look themselves in the mirror, that's the question they need to ask themselves.
And they probably were given the opportunity to do it, but they didn't stay out and do it. That's what happened.
Well, Al Heyman obviously is a man with passion. He's a man with a vision. And he's a man that he didn't care about the status quo of what's going on in boxing. He wanted to do something that was different, that was innovative. And, the PBC is a very interesting series.
Yep.
Still, in my opinion, in its infancy.
Yes.
So it's been in business less than a year, so we don't know how it's going to turn out.
No, we don't.
But I will say, it has definitely opened some eyes to what can happen in boxing.
Absolutely.
Boxing, as we both know, it's about power players. If you're a man of power and a man of position, you can do what you want to do. Floyd Mayweather is a great example of that. Floyd Mayweather in boxing is his own boss. He can do what he wants to do. And when you're your own boss, you can do something or not do something.
And
a lot of promoters that are their own bosses, they choose to do what they want to do, and certain things they don't want to do. Al Heyman wants to create PBC. He did it. Al Heyman wants to have multiple TV deals. He's doing it. He wants to have over 200 fighters signed to him in advisory capacity. He's done that. So I think Al Heyman's doing a great job. He's a man with a vision. He's not letting anyone stop him. And I applaud and respect Al Heyman for what he's doing. Any man that has a vision, that's a go-getter, and says, hey, I want to do this. And people say, hey, you can't do that, or that's not going to happen. That's impossible. And you still have the intestinal fortitude to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to make it happen. I respect that. Any man that's doing something innovative that's going to create more exposure for boxing and create more boxing fans, more power to you. It's like, in my opinion, what Al Heyman's doing is going to cause other promoters to step their game up.
Absolutely.
And put on better TV fights, put on better boxing events, and become better promoters. In years past, they may not have had the inspiration or the need to do better. But now with Al Heyman leading the charge, you better go all out or you're going home.
Amazing. Mackie, as we come to the end of this interview, how do people contact you, for example?
People can contact me at my website, blueprintboxing.com. Also, they can contact me via my email, which is blueprintboxing99@gmail.com. Also, they can contact me at social media. Do a search on Google for Blueprint Boxing. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook, Google Plus, Instagram, Pinterest, Tumblr, Skype. Blueprint Boxing is a new age digital marketing company. Blueprint Boxing is a new age company that has innovative strategies to build brands and to create revenue. I look at Blueprint Boxing like I look at the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball. Those companies are ran very, very differently than boxing. I run my company like a franchise. And I think that that type of NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball type of mentality can work very well in boxing. But once again, like a man like Al Heyman, I too am a man with a vision to make the sport of boxing better. I too am a man that wants to see fighters make more money. I too am a man that wants to see more competitive fights on TV. In my personal opinion, fighting on TV is not a right, it's a privilege. It's something you must earn. And a lot of fighters, in my personal opinion, are fighting on TV very lacklusterly, fighting on TV against subpar opposition, and fighting on TV and making terrible performances. So, to me, fighting on TV, it's all about what have you done lately. So, we're an innovative company doing innovative things. And to any promoter out there worldwide, any manager out there worldwide, any fighter out there worldwide that wants to increase your fan base, you want to get more exposure, and you want to make more money in boxing, contact Blueprint Boxing, and we would definitely assist you in making your plans successful and come to reality.
Finally, Mac, I'm going to ask the question, what are you doing at this current moment in time? What's going on at Blueprint Boxing?
I'm very, very busy. I have various projects I'm involved with. As I mentioned, I have quite a few clients that I work with on a daily basis, various promoters in the United States, Australia, Mexico, South America. So I work with a lot of different promoters, working with a lot of managers as well that have fighters that are looking to create their exposure and do some social media marketing as well. Also, I have some other digital content projects I'm involved in. I'm currently developing some digital content series. I'm also currently involved in a television program that I'm developing. So I have various projects I'm involved with. My main focus always will be boxing, but the work that I do is also afford me the opportunities to work with some of the best promoters in boxing, some of the best managers, some of the best fighters, and also it's allowed me to delve into TV and film work. Currently a motion picture that's being developed that I'll probably be a technical advisor on. So we have a plethora of different projects coming up in 2015 and 2016 that are definitely going to take the sport of boxing to the next level. Stay tuned.
Mac Roberts, thank you so much for talking to Bayloric TV.
It's my pleasure, Mr. Ingram. You have a great show. You're doing very well in Ireland and the UK, and it's my pleasure being on your show. And to all the fans in the UK and Ireland, looking at possibly coming over there this fall for a scouting tour, scouting some talent. So I look forward to traveling some of those gyms and going out some of those live boxing events throughout Europe. So keep your eyes open. You may see me.
Mac, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.